Greetings and welcome. I am JustaVOR, bringing you what I hope is constructive information on what the system of white supremacy, racism, is and how it works, as well as what can be done to replace it with the system of justice. White people's big secret, according to this suspected racist. Recently, a suspected racist male offered what he says is a big secret about white people. This brings to mind a couple of questions. What do so-called white folks talk about when no non-white people are around? And what does it mean to be white in a system of white supremacy, racism? Let's have a look and a listen.
I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret about white people. Every single white person knows somebody who is racist. Racist towards black people, racist towards Spanish people. We all know somebody. It might be our family member, it might be a distant relative, it might be a coworker, it might be an old friend, but we all know somebody. Personally, I come from a whole family of racist people. Yeah, my entire family is Republican too, okay? My dad's parents are racist, and my mom's parents are racist, okay? So I'm literally going against everything by talking about this. I am putting my own life on the line by speaking about this, and that's what we all should be doing. See, we could have ended this a long time ago, but people like my mom listened to these racist comments that their parents were making and didn't speak out against it. They kept their mouths shut, or they agreed with them silently, but they didn't do anything about it. They continued to let this be passed on generation after generation. My mom never told me or taught me any racist ideologies. She continued to let it happen because she didn't speak out against it when her parents were talking about it, or my dad's parents were talking. So if you are against racism and you are against discrimination and you're a white person, you need to speak out about it. Otherwise, you are allowing this to continue generation after generation, and you are just as much a part of the problem as anybody else.
I'm not sure about you, but I didn't hear him divulge any big secret. He did, however, say a few things I think are worth going over in a little more detail.
I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret about white people. Every single white person knows somebody who is racist.
Every single white person?
Every single white person knows somebody who is racist. Racist towards black people, racist towards Spanish people. We all know somebody. It might be our family member, it might be a distant relative, it might be a coworker, it might be an old friend, but we all know somebody.
I've heard this type of rhetoric from suspected racists before. So-called anti-racist white folks who act as if they're letting non-white people in on a big secret by telling us that, yes, some white people are actually racist. What's more, they even know some. Then they proceed to tell us about their Southern Republican cousins who use the word nigger like it's the word the, all the while never actually naming any names or telling us the things racists do to maintain the system of white supremacy. I'm sure some of the more confused victims of racism may be surprised by his admission, but white people pretending to out each other while still keeping non-white people uninformed of the most useful information is nothing new.
Personally, I come from a whole family of racist people. Yeah, my entire family is Republican too, okay? My dad's parents are racist, and my mom's parents are racist.
Well, we're going to need their names and a list of racist things they say and do. And while you're at it, upload some images so we can identify these people on site.
So I'm literally going against everything by talking about this. I am putting my own life on the line by speaking about this, and that's what we all should be doing.
We keep hearing suspects talk about how they are risking their lives and well-being by simply talking about some aspects of racism. But history shows that it is actually non-white people who have to worry about harm coming to them for simply calling out racism. If this harm doesn't come directly from white supremacists, it often comes from their non-white victims by way of the tactic of racial shadowboxing. This guy is no John Brown. And even John Brown, suspected racist, got black people, like Shields Green, killed. But John Brown was at least willing to harm other white people to end formal slavery. So it has been claimed. But these suspects today wouldn't bust a white grape in a fruit fight to end racism. But those racist Republican cousins of theirs, with their armed militias, regularly demonstrate their willingness to kill non-white people, to instigate the next boogaloo, the next civil war, so that they can live out a real-life adaptation of the Purge movie franchise. But we have these racial focal-pointing content creators claiming to be taking all the risks by telling us information that does not really prove useful for non-white people who are attempting to end the global system of white supremacy. But anyway.
See, we could have ended this a long time ago. But people like my mom listened to these racist comments that their parents were making and didn't speak out against it. They kept their mouths shut. Or they agreed with them silently, but they didn't do anything about it. They continue to let this be passed on generation after generation.
It's interesting. He says his mom, we need her name and a photo would be nice. And others who listened to their racist parents and even agreed with them didn't do anything about it. I would offer that they did do something about it. They decided to stand with the white team and maintain the system, which is why this suspect is speaking about them now. Wait, is he saying his mother is a racist white supremacist? Yeah, I'm gonna need him to start naming names. Get to doxing.
Oh, my mom never told me or taught me any racist ideologies. She continued to let it happen because she didn't speak out against it when her parents were talking about it, or my dad's parents were talking.
Is he sure she didn't teach him any racist ideologies? What about behaviors that maintain power for the white team? See, this is why JustaVOR doesn't give racist woman a pass. She occupies a position of being made to look innocent, helpless even. All the while, she has been the most profound teacher, guiding the next generation of white supremacist males and females into their positions of domination over their non-white victims. She doesn't always need to be an overt and active participant. The system has been refined now to the point that she can perform minimal work and the system will work as it is designed.
So if you are against racism and you are against discrimination and you're a white person, you need to speak out about it. Otherwise, you are allowing this to continue generation after generation, and you are just as much a part of the problem as anybody else.
I think if white people are going to speak out, they should be informing non-white people as to what the system of white supremacy, racism, really is and how it really works. This includes telling us who the racist white supremacists are and what it means to be white in a system of white supremacy. Has he given us this information? As far as I can tell, he hasn't provided much in the way of constructive information. And by constructive, I mean that which works to end white supremacy and produce a system of justice. He did make a follow-up video. Let's see if there's any constructive information in that video.
So my last post definitely stirred up a lot of shit, and there's a couple things I want to talk about. One of the main comments that I've been hearing is everybody's racist, that every white person has some form of racism in them. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I will say that we are not born that way.
I'm not saying you're wrong. So, is it true that all white people are racist or not? Don't you find it interesting that he initially was calling out not only white folks he regarded as racist, but also those who don't speak out about racism, and now he seems to be defending the white team from victims who are suspicious, with good reason, of all people who classify themselves as white? Does it matter if you're born racist if ultimately you're a white person who functions as a racist white supremacist?
There is such a thing called implicit bias. Basically means that you are biased towards people unknowingly, and that you do things that are in your subconscious and you don't consciously discriminate against people. That is a real thing, and it's something that we all have.
So we went from talking about racism to implicit bias? Did you catch that?
What I don't believe is that we are all born this way. I don't believe any of us are born hating anybody. We're not born hating a race of people. We're not born hating gay people or transgender people. Those are things that we are taught. These are things that are programmed into us.
And now we're talking about hating people. This is why we define what we mean when we say racism. The definition we use on this channel for the terms racism and white supremacy appears to be the most accurate and makes the terms interchangeable as they have the same definition, which is a global system of people who classify themselves as white and who are dedicated to the mistreatment and subjugation of all those they have classified as not white. I suspect that this guy, going by the TikTok handle I am 10 toes, is practicing racism by omitting constructive information, but also by conflating terms like implicit bias and hate with racism. You don't have to hate non-white people to determine that you should have and maintain a superior position over them in society. Words are important.
These ideologies were programmed into us from an early age, through school, through our parents, through TV, and, everything. I mean, just look at the way they program us to think black people were just slaves. I mean, that's not true. There were free black people here. The Moors were here before anybody.
I'm not too sure about that part. But he seems to be leaning very hard on the unintentional racism defense. So, you were programmed to be a racist and now you function as one. As Mr. Neely Fuller says, white people need to stand by their work. He talks about being programmed, but he still isn't giving any constructive information about what this programming consisted of, besides not knowing that black people haven't always been so-called slaves. That part, at least, is somewhat interesting.
Now, a lot of you guys know I'm from Florida, and it's racist as hell out here. And I know this because I was born and raised in Georgia. I grew up in Gwinnett County, north of Atlanta. Atlanta accepts more refugees than any city besides Minneapolis. We accept tons of refugees. It's one of the most diverse places in the world. And I promise you, I had no racism growing up. I had black neighbors, I had Native American neighbors, Asian neighbors. I looked at them all the same. Honestly, I loved our differences. And honestly, I always thought black people were beautiful. I loved the way their skin shined. I loved the way their teeth were bright. I just thought they were beautiful. So a lot of these people who are really racist, they probably are just secret admirers.
What does that do to help victims of white supremacy and their mistreatment at the hands of racists? White people admire many things about dogs, who they call man's best friend. White man's, or rather white people's best friend. But that relationship is still one of master and servant. They admire dogs, even love them as one of the family, so they say, but they still dominate them. Usually, when a suspected racist makes this type of claim about loving non-white people's physical features, it's usually a precursor to them practicing racial sexual confusion and engaging in tragic arrangements with their victims, leading to maximum racist aggression by these racist suspects. I wonder if he has ever been sexually involved with a non-white person. I wonder if he is one of those racism will only end when white people and non-white people come together and have sex and make babies type of racist. That strategy didn't end racism on the plantations and hasn't worked to the benefit of non-white people yet. And I don't think it will ever get to the point where it will. But according to 10 Toes...
You want to know the funny thing about karma and racist people? All the people that are racist are going to have beautiful mixed grandchildren. You're going to have beautiful mixed nieces and nephews, and they're going to just melt your heart, and it's going to be impossible for you to keep that hate inside of you.
How about keeping it inside your pants and away from non-white people? What are your thoughts? Does what he has shared meet the quality relationship requirements as defined by the counter-racist code? Or is this another suspected racist getting his rocks off by practicing a refined form of racism? And feel free to leave your questions, comments, and concerns. For more information about the purpose and goals of this channel, as well as some basic definitions of words and terms we use in reference to our work, I have included a link below to a video containing this information. If you would like an even better understanding of the code and how it works, please visit ProduceJustice.com to order the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept by Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. There are many constructive suggestions for ending the system of white supremacy, and Mr. Fuller's code book and its word guide act as guides to getting and keeping on code. If you think this content is constructive and worth your time and energy, please subscribe and share to support the making of more content in the future. Much appreciation for all the VORs already subscribed. I am JustaVOR, and I am still learning. Thank you for watching. Until next time.
Let me say something that gets to the very crux of the matter, and this may be offensive for some to hear who are not on the side that we're on. White people, we have been the problem for 400 years.
Say that again.
Let me say it one more time for those of you who didn't hear me. White people, we have been the problem for 400 years.
I still ask you to look at that mirror. And if nothing staring back at you is friendly, then you've got no friend.